What's up, everyone? Welcome to our live stream this evening, Wednesday evening. Thanks for your patience. I know we got started a few minutes late. Had a exciting meeting that was running over with a business owner, helping them with their business. And let's see. As we're jumping in, so we're going to be talking about the best kinds of franchises to buy today. I haven't talked about this in this way. So I'm hoping that you'll get a lot of value out of it. I think you will get a lot of value out of it because there's really some key elements to look for, and it's going to help make the process simpler for you. It's going to provide you more confidence, more clarity. We're going to be able to look at opportunities, kind of have a criteria so that you can put yourself in the best position to succeed as you can. My camera is a little bit wide in terms of the angle. Let's see. That's better. Okay. All right. So as we are getting started, drop me a comment. What city or state are you tuning in from? And let me know if you're watching the replay or not. And hit the like button if you're watching on YouTube. Helps it to show to more and more people. Let me put our cool brand thing up here. Boom. There we go. Ready to rock and roll. All right. So these are the best franchises to buy. Let's see. I did not prepare a actual PowerPoint. So I'm going to see if I'm going to put up my points as I say it, so you have a visual. I like the visual component to it. And where am I going to start here? I'm going to start with growing. We're going to start with this. Boom. Add banner. All right. So number one is hello from someone listening. Janice from New York City. Cool. Julie from looks like is that Missouri? So number one. So today we're not going to talk about specific franchise names and brands. We do that all the time, every week, right? And so some people will still watch. These are the elements that you want to look for. So this is more of the, instead of giving a man a fish, you feed him for a day. I'm teaching you how to fish here. Teaching you how to fish. That's the analogy that we're running towards here. So you want to find a business that's in a growing industry and there's a rising tide, right? So the analogy here is this was have you ever heard the phrase "a rising tide lifts all boats"? Let me know if you've heard that phrase before. A rising tide lifts all boats. It was coined by JFK, and it basically meant to say that, in a great, strong performing economy, anyone that was involved and participating in the economy overall was going to benefit, right? So if you're in a booming economic time, whether you buy a house, you invest in the stock market, like everything is increasing. Okay, we got a bunch of people who have heard of that phrase. So when it comes to like what are the best kinds of franchises to buy, you want to look at going into a growing industry or rising tide, right? There are just a reality that there are some businesses and things that are dying, and there are some brands that are dying, right? Like as an example, the movie rental business, Blockbuster, was not a rising tide. Like that was a declining tide. And so sometimes that happens with innovation, right? And so what has worked with the franchise before isn't necessarily what's going to work today. Does that make sense? I'm gonna take. I don't like looking at this banner there the whole time. Let me take this down, hide that, and okay, cool. Let's see. By the way, our Franchise Buyers Academy, it's epic. If you haven't seen it yet and you want to get some inside industry secrets, go to franchiseempire.com/FBA. All right, so rising tide. So think about this for a second. In 2000, 2004, 2005, before the economic crash, real estate boomed, right? So you could buy, it didn't matter if you closed your eyes, threw a dart at a board full of houses for sale. If you bought a house in 2004, 2 years later, that house was gonna be worth more money. Like, pretty much didn't matter where you bought it, because the housing market was just increasing and and going up, right? So an example of this could be something like senior care or something involving seniors, because that's a market where you have 10,000 people turning 65 a day. The stats are crazy. By 2030, 1 in 5 US residents will be over the age of 65. And 70% of people who are 65 or older will require long-term care. That's fascinating. That is really, really interesting. And once people reach the age of 65, their life expectancy is an additional 20 years. So there are, as an example, there are franchises that, they install ramps in people's homes, and there's ones that for like hearing aids, and it's not just all care. And this is just one small example. I'm not telling you to go buy a senior care business, because it's not just about going into a rising tide. It's got to align with your skill sets. The profit potential's got to be there, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But rising tide is important, right? So I want you to just think about, hey, what's an industry that's growing? What's an industry that's expanding? And so some of those things could be property services, right? Um, like, there are certain industries that are still growing and have a lot of headway. Let me know if you guys have any questions on that specific area. Number 2 is, number 2 is this. To solve a major problem or pain point. And it looks like my internet is a little bit slow, so I may be coming in not too clear. I don't know. Let me know if you guys can hear me okay. I don't even know why my internet would not be clear, because I'm plugged in and we have Fios. It should be strong as an ox. Anyways, look, you want to go into business, and I get it. Some people say, "Hey, Tark," but I want to be in a business that I'm passionate about, that I'm really excited about. I want to have a passion about the business. Um, I I'm a firm believer that if you're just trying to make money in your first business and get yourself free, which was what, like, my major goal was, um, screw passion at the moment. Just do what works. We don't need to get fancy. It doesn't need to be all feel good. Just do what works. And part of what will put you in the best position to succeed is you picking and choosing a business where you're solving a major pain point. And so an example here is a good buddy of mine, one of my closest friends. He started a business from scratch, not a franchise. This guy's a born entrepreneur. Not born, he's actually done a lot of work in developing himself, and spent a lot of money on coaches and seminars and different things like that. Um, but he's just kind of a naturally talented entrepreneur. Anyways, about 12 years ago or so, him and his wife started a business doing tile and floor cleaning. Eventually he wanted to know what business would put me in the position where I could make the most amount of money. And he learned that was the fire and water restoration business, because it had high tickets, it had high sales, high average revenue, big projects, etc. And it was a need. And so he started this business, and they grew that business from scratch to $12 million a year in sales. And so when you think about it, there's a lot of you got these boring businesses that they call it, um, and you're going into a business that has a need. we're as an example, our hot water heater started like it was crazy. The one of the bolts up top that connected something, the bolt got a crack in it. So it was just like spraying this single stream of water, but we didn't realize it, and we were gone for a few days and got back and it was like there's just like water dripping out of the garage all the way to the front. And I was like, what is going on? And I got some of that Teflon tape, wherever that tape is, you're supposed to wrap it around really tight to kind of prevent the leak. But it wasn't working. So, we called out a plumbing company and we wind up, replacing the hot water heater. And at the end of the day, it was like, did I want to spend? I forget how much we spent for it. It was $1,500 or $2,000 or something like that, because it was 9 years old anyways. So, but I didn't want to spend the money. But there was a need, there was a pain. Like either I was going to fix that myself, I didn't know how to do it, and I value my time and reinvesting my time into my family and my business. So it's not something that I was going to attempt to do either, right? And so my buddy's business, the fire and water restoration business, he's dealing with situations where people have floods, people have a pipe burst, etc. Insurance is paying for it, or like either way, someone has to pay for it. I remember one time my tenant in a rental property I had said the hot water heater leaked, right? And so although it was covered by I had one of those home warranties, like it was covered and I was going to be able to get a brand new hot water heater under the home warranty. But what happened was it leaked all over the carpet in the basement, and it was a lot of water. So we had a company come, and it turns out it's like one of those fire and water restoration companies. It was like hundreds of dollars just to set up a couple of fans to stay there for a couple of days to dry the area out. And so again, I didn't want to spend the money at that point, but it's because there was a need, there was a pain point. And so if you can focus in your business search on what is a need or a pain point that I can solve, as opposed to thinking, how can I make money? It's a very slight distinction, because right now some of you are going, yeah, I want to make a bunch of money in business. I want to start my own business. I want to make money. What's the best franchise that I can make the most money in? Or how can I replace my income of $150,000? And I understand why you're asking that question. It's partially the wrong question to ask. Part of the question is because the entrepreneurship is very simple. Entrepreneurship is just solving problems. That's all being an entrepreneur is. So when we owned our juice and smoothie bars, what's the problem? People don't have time to make it at home. Maybe they're rushing to work and there's only McDonald's and Taco Bell and all these other fast food places. They want to grab something healthy, but where do they do that? So we're solving the pain point of convenience, people not having to juice or make smoothies at home and make a mess and have to buy all the ingredients and do. These are solving pain points. And so again, you just want to think about, what pain point can I solve? Hopefully that was clear, articulate, made sense, and landed for you. Let's see. I'm just checking in on some of the comments here. What works? Which franchises have the best sales to investment ratios? Let's see. Yeah, I'll take a question here. All right. So Rainbow Art said, what works? Which franchises have the best sales to investment ratios? Some of the best sales to investment ratios are going to come in service-based businesses. Service-based businesses. We've had some clients recently that have bought fire and water restoration companies, franchises. This is crazy. There we go. I think I zoomed in a little bit too much now with the banners. Hold on. Now I went the other direction. Give me a second. Okay, I think that's better. What happened to the thing? There we go. Best sales to investment ratios. Yeah, so home services, we've had clients that have bought fire and water restoration franchises. We've had a bunch of clients that have bought painting franchises for whatever reason. There's been a bunch of attractive resale opportunities out there, so we've helped clients with those. So you'll find that service-based businesses, if when you don't have to have a retail location and sign a Class A lease, um, that helps. I mean, you're not doing a major build out. It's a big difference. So you're able to find, franchises where you can get up and open and running for, 200 grand total. Um, and, some of those franchises, you have ones, and we show them, weekly, but there's some franchises that show that, hey, one territory owners average $1.3 million in sales, and the investment is 150 grand to get the business started. Whereas you have, some retail, a lot of these, food franchises that are even that are, $350,000 to get open. I mean, they're not showing, a lot of them don't show average sales higher than 700, 750, 800 maybe. And that's in some of the more mature ones. So you start thinking about sales to investment ratio of, well, hold on. I could either have startup cost of $350,000, and even if you did $1 million in sales, okay, cool. Or I can invest 150,000 and it shows average sales of 1 million. I mean, yeah, they're two different businesses at that point, but it's like some of you want the sexy business, you want the cool thing, you think it'd be cool to own this thing or this wellness or blah 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 blah. Cool. All right. Well, I mean, see how it works out. Doesn't mean that that's a bad business overall, but I am a fan of just doing what you think has the highest likelihood of working. Because here's what's cool: you can always sell it. You can sell it. You can build it up, and you could not be a huge fan of the type of business overall, but just know that you are going to do well. You build it up, and then you sell it. That's one of the beauties about franchising and business overall. Every entrepreneur dreams of having an exit. So I want people to start thinking of franchising more and more as a stepping stone. Even if you don't plan on owning a franchise long term, guess what? You could do it to learn how to operate a business and the systems, and then sell it, and then go do whatever it is that you want to do outside of a franchise system. Or maybe you still stay as a franchisee. I know plenty of very successful franchisees where they sell a franchise and they buy in another franchise, or they own multiple franchise brands. I just interviewed a guy today on the podcast. It'll go live in a few weeks. He owned 11 massage franchises, 2 blow drying franchises, and 2 fitness franchises. He had 15 total franchise locations. Pretty crazy, right? That's a lot of locations. So hopefully that gave you some clarity on the sales to investment ratio part. Let's see, Janice said it's funny. I was just having this conversation with I would assume that means spouse today, about the restoration franchise. Cool. Yeah, that's significant other. Yeah, there we go. Was just looking a franchise for restoration business. Oh, cool. Awesome. Yeah, reach out to us if you're not working with us in our team. We have a short list of ones that we know have strong numbers and performance overall. We've had a number of clients that have bought multiple different brands in that specific category and space, by the way. So the best place to start, you guys see the ticker at the bottom, franchiseempire.com/FBA, Franchise Buyers Academy, because it gives you all of the other inside info that you need and want in the process. At the end of the day, here's the thing: like, some people are like, I just want to know the good franchise opportunities. I promise you that's the easy part, is to find a franchise that just shows the numbers that you want produced. That's so easy. We literally do a newsletter every week showing franchises that show that a franchisee is making, some of these, they show 30, one we recently showed $24 million a year in sales. It's in a single territory. That person owns that's a 1 in 1 territory, which is wild. And I think the average owner was doing that had been open for at least 3 years was doing 1.3 in sales, I think is what it was. Those It's easy to find those opportunities where you can see the numbers. Here's the hard part. In the back of your mind, you go, "Do I really want to buy a franchise? Is this really the right one for me?" But like they make that money. Can I make that money? It's the uncertainty and it's the internal things and those questions. And that's what the Franchise Buyers Academy helps to resolve and solve for you. Let's see. Number three on the list is number 3 out of 4 in terms of the best kind of franchises to buy. Type this in the banner here. Recurring revenue. Recurring revenue. I'll tell you what, and there are a lot of franchises that don't have recurring revenue, and you don't need it to succeed. My buddy's fire and water restoration business that he started, they didn't have any recurring revenue. They hit $12 million a year in sales and wound up selling to a private equity company for a pretty significant amount of money. But recurring revenue is a beautiful thing in a business. Like imagine if I said, okay, here are 2 businesses that you could buy right now. They both do $1 million a year in sales. One business has 333 customers that pay $250 a month. 333 times 250 is about $83,333 a month. Multiply that by 12, you got $1 million business. It's recurring. They're continuing to pay you. Yeah, you got some churn. You got a certain percentage of those, 5 or 10% of them are canceling every month. So you got to find 5 or 2%, 5 or 10% new ones to replace the people that are canceling. But the other business, on the other hand, is also does $1 million, but you have to find 333 brand new customers every single month to pay you $250 one time. What business are you choosing? Obvious, right? You're choosing the one with recurring revenue. So, in businesses that have some sort of recurring revenue, it can be really attractive because, once you land a client, assuming that you can keep them for a long period of time, woo, you can put yourself in a good position. Cleaning businesses are a good example of that, right? We have someone looking at a resale right now for franchise. I won't say in like what area, but generally, oh, it looks like I froze. No, I'm back. So generally, when someone hires a cleaner in a cleaning company, unless something happens with that cleaning company, you're going to keep paying them month over month over month. Childcare is another one. I mean, you pay for daycare for your kids or preschool. That's recurring, right? You're talking about now. You're combining recurring revenue with a strong pain point with the growing industry, right? So recurring revenue is huge. Now, it's not. I will say that it's not easy to find businesses that have recurring revenue because those businesses tend to get bought up quick and territories tend to bought up quick, especially if it's a real attractive opportunity, because people like recurring revenue and income. And just because it has recurring revenue doesn't mean it's good, to be fair, because you have some of these boutique fitness franchises that are just like a fad and it becomes really hard to maintain people. But if you have something good and strong, recurring revenue is incredible, and it can be really incredible. And you see all sorts of businesses are implementing it now. Even HVAC companies, plumbing companies, electrical companies, they have what? They have their annual maintenance plan, right? And sometimes it's tiered, where it's like you could pay $100 a year, $250 a year, or $400 a year, and you're going to get 2 visits and this and this and this. That's a recurring revenue, right? And they're doing that because if they have 1,000 people that are paying, $200 a year, that's $200,000 in annual recurring revenue. It's a beautiful thing. So recurring revenue. Let's see. I think this is the last one. Yes. Last but not least is Boom. It's the ability to sell the business. And to more so to elaborate on that, it's the ability to build a business that can be sold for the most amount of money. How do you how do you maximize and understand what the potential is to exit the business later on? So you want to start with the end in mind, right? Like what is your ultimate goal? Some people come in going, "Hey, I want to start up a business. I want to buy a franchise. I want to start a business. I want to build it up and then eventually I want to pass it down to my kids. And I want them to take over the business." Okay, cool. Awesome. That leads to a different strategy and potentially a path. Now, if you go, "Hey, I want to start a business," right? I want to start a business and I want to I want to build it up over a period of 5 years. I want to go really hard over that 5-year period and then I want to sell that business and I want to try to sell it for as much as humanly possible, right? It leads to 2 different types of strategies. And some businesses don't have the ability to exit the way others do. So the more you're involved in the business or it relies on your skill set or expertise, the less valuable the business becomes, and typically the less of a multiple that you're going to sell that business for. The more you have management structures and people reporting to you and an operations manager and a sales manager and tax or whatever it is, the more valuable that business becomes. So as an example, if you're doing $100,000 in profits, if the business is super dependent upon you as the owner and your skill sets and your talents, you may only be able to sell that business for 2 times its earnings. So 2 times 100 grand, 200 grand, right? But if you have a management team in place or just a manager in place and you're not working in the business, you're working on the business, you might be able to sell that same business for 4 times, for 4x earnings, right? And so it's a really key thing to think about, which is why, it's one of the things that we put in our Franchise Buyers Academy. So, like, as an example, share screen. This is behind the scenes in Franchise Buyers Academy. And so one of the things it's at the very end, but it's, hey, like we have a whole module on cashing out and selling your business and what that looks like. And we walk you through how to scale and how to scale through acquisitions too. The guy that I met with, the franchisee, the brand that he has 11 franchises in, he built the first one from scratch. He acquired existing locations of all the other ones. So you may be thinking, like, how do I build a franchise empire? How could I his 11 locations do about $25 million in sales. Crazy. I mean, he's just absolutely crushing it. But these are the things that you need to know before you start. Like before you start looking at franchises, you want to know what some of these opportunities are, how to think about it, how to approach it with the end in mind, and have the proper industry insight and knowledge about what some of these franchises are and how much they make and what exists, so that you can then might make the right decision from the beginning. And so, pretty we run through like some pretty exciting scenarios here of literally mapping out the numbers of how it all works and what the kind of potentiality look like. So again, that's in our Franchise Buyers Academy. You can go to franchiseempire.com/FBA. I highly recommend grabbing it because if you enjoy some of this content, the stuff in the Franchise Buyers Academy is way more technical, way more clear, shorter, concise, because it took me months and months to create, and it's 10 years of my knowledge. But the ability to sell the business is super important. I just spoke to someone today. She was in a home services franchise for 7 years with her husband, and they built that business up. They worked really hard in that business, and the whole time they knew that there was a larger owner in the space that owned a bunch of different locations that wanted to buy them out because he told them early on. And so, guess what? When it came time for them to be like, you know what? I think we're ready to rock and roll. I think we're done with this business. They called him up. It was a quick and easy sale. And the buyer didn't have to get approved by the franchisors, already in the system, already knows the thing. She said it was such an easy sale. So that's one of the interesting things about franchises is that sometimes people will buy it just because it's a franchise. And if you go into a brand knowing that there's activity and that there are people that own 4, 5, 6 locations or territories or 7 or 8, you know that hey, there's the opportunity to be acquired, or there's the opportunity for you to acquire other people. So let's see. That's a wrap. Let me hit the questions. What about checking operation cost of business you're buying to determine how much you make? Yeah, I would highly recommend you do that. We advise all of our clients to put together a pro forma, which is just financial projections. So you need to put together a pro forma mock profit and loss statements and have target estimates of what every cost in the area of that business would be before buying it. Is Orange Theory still a good business? Would you recommend it? I don't know. I haven't looked at their numbers. I know that there's a lot of people that have made a lot of money in Orange Theory and done well. I don't know. I'm not up to date on any of their numbers or having spoken to any of their owners recently. I do know that that's a franchise where there's some big equity groups that own 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 locations at a pop. So I think it's a very competitive one to try to get into. Most of the country sold out. I think it's nearly impossible to get to open and buy a territory for a new Orange Theory. Maybe a sprinkling of availability in the United States, but most of them would be potential resales. And then you have some of these, again, bigger groups that own multiple locations where they're willing to pay a higher multiple. Because here's what's interesting, by the way, guys, and we'll wrap on this. The size of your business, the value of your business can increase just by the size. Just by being a $10 million a year business, you can demand a higher multiple than if you are a $1.5 million a year business. So there are so many advantages to bigger and building the business bigger. And then what happens is their business may be valued at 3 times sales, and you pay 3 times sales. But because you then roll that up into your conglomerate where you have multiple territories and your thing is worth 6x sales, you just doubled the value of the business immediately by rolling it up and acquiring it into your thing that has it at scale. Mind blown, right? Crazy. So there's advantages to getting really big. So I hope you got value out of this. If you did, hit the like. Do me a favor, hit the like button on YouTube before you head out. Just hit that little like button. Doesn't cost you anything. Shows the video to more people. Super helpful. If you have specific topics you would like to hear about, drop a comment. Let me know because I'm actively planning out our content calendar now. Planning this stuff out, these topics out a month in advance, and I'm going to start doing Q&As. So drop your questions on videos because I'm going to start cherry picking them, and I'm going to start doing some of these lives where I'm just answering questions the whole time. So hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Take care. Bye.